Knight, you're here.
Yes, I am. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm really glad you're here. You helped us get started with all this stuff, and I owe you an enormous debt of gratitude.
Oh, no, it was fun. It's been fun playing around.
All right. I'll try not to make fun of your English accent through this episode as my payment, as compensation.
There we go.
If you guys don't know, Harry and I have a very weird friendship, and we're very different, but for whatever reason, we talk a lot of smack and have a good time. So I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
All right. That's good. Introduce yourself and tell us what you do here.
So I'm Harry Knight. I am, as you pointed out, English.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. It's a cross we have to bear. So I grew up in England and I've been here for about 9 years.
Gotcha.
I'm one of the owners of Surf Simply, which is one of the surf schools in town. And from the podcast side of things, Surf Simply also has a podcast, and so I'm the producer of the podcast and do all the edits and stuff like that. You
do a heck of a job. That's a really good podcast.
Well, that's very kind. We try. We're not quite as punctual as you are, but yes.
You can't have everything. So you work at Surf Simply, and you guys just got a new resort.
We did.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, we're very pleased with it. Very proud of it. It's not quite finished yet. We're still tidying up little details. The landscaping's just sort of being finished off, but we're super excited. We've hopefully got the inspectors from LEED coming down. We're aiming for LEED Platinum, which will be one of only a couple of LEED Platinum buildings in the whole of Costa Rica.
Let me pause for a moment just to bring up and explain what LEED means. LEED is basically a designation for sustainably friendly and environmentally friendly builds. Yeah. There's different levels to LEED certification, and you guys are aiming for the top.
Yeah.
Now, for people who don't know that, it costs money, it takes time, and it's quite difficult, and it holds up projects a lot of the time. Now, you guys are getting LEED certified at the absolute highest level, which means that you're building sustainably, again, environmentally friendly. However, you guys caught a lot of flack when you went to do this.
Well, no, I think we caught a lot of flack because we built a massive chunk of a building in a lot that people didn't necessarily know. You know, that lot's been empty for an awfully long time. And because the roads are in a really weird layout right there, I think a lot of people thought that we were building into the wildlife reserve, which we weren't. And let's be honest, there's no such thing as a pretty building site. And we built a big building. It is built very sustainably. It's a 10-bedroom resort. It should use less water because we've got rainwater collection and we've got this amazing BioNest water treatment plant. Should actually use less water than most private homes in this town. We've got solar on the roof, which will provide at least 40% of our electricity. We've also got solar hot water, which will reduce the electrical needs of the building even more so. We've done a huge amount to reduce our infrastructure.
Right on. I want to thank you publicly in this forum for doing that, because people don't know. And you know how gossipy is. Our gossipy, is that a word I can make up?
No, I think it's true.
Our small town is. So I had a lot of people approach me and be like, these guys are building the nature reserve. I know they did because I went and walked the nature preserve, and then I walked this much in thinking that was accurate math.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I had the surveys and knew everything. You guys were definitely not building the nature preserve. But you know how rumors go.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that you're done, you're up, you're at the absolute highest level of sustainability that you can be. And I want to thank you for that.
No, well, that's very kind. Thank you. And actually, I will say, although it is a small town, rumors circulate. The population of this town has been incredibly supportive on the whole. You know, for every one negative message we've received, 5 or 6 really positive messages from people, and that's been really gratifying. You know, it is hard when you put your heart and soul in something and you get negative feedback from it, and so to have the positive feedback was really huge, and thank you to everybody that did that.
Jeez, man, I'm just glad it's all working out, because if everyone built that way, this place would be far better. What people don't understand is that the old homes that are still using blackwater systems are far more damaging to our environment than the newer homes that have new engineering and new construction and biodigesters and are built the right way.
Oh, so we've actually got a full BioNest. We have 0 outgoing waste from the project whatsoever. So all our grey water is recycled. It becomes fully potable drinking water. All our black waste is cycled and goes into the garden. And that's part of why we're going to use so little water.
That's awesome. Well, some other time we'll go more into the resort.
We'll have to have you guys come and have a little walk around.
Okay, cool, man. But
maybe in a few, like right now, it's still looking like a big concrete building, but pretty soon it's going to disappear into once the landscaping's all done, once the vines have grown up it a little bit more, it should disappear back in. And
things grow fast here. That's the good news, right?
It is. It's amazing how quick the stuff grows.
All right, so off of Surf Simply and on to you. What do you like to do for fun?
So this is why you brought me.
Or what can you say in a public forum that you like to do for fun?
What do I do in public?
Sorry for that disclaimer. I'm sorry, everyone. Harry, man, if you only knew Harry.
Obviously, I surf a lot. I'm a surf coach. That's what I do for a living.
Yep.
But I've always been fascinated by flying.
Why?
I don't know. It was a bug that bit me. I went to an air show when I was probably like 8 or 9, and ever since that, I that was something.
So an air show made a big impression on you, and you're like, I got to get up in the air.
Yeah, I want to do that. And then when I was at school in the UK, we have a sort of junior military cadet force thing that you can go and join, and
I could see you right in that.
Yep, loved it. But one of the things I got to do was go and fly. We got taken to an Air Force base and, given a little jumpsuit and helmet and taken up an aeroplane. The pilot said, right, you got control. Do this, do that, do the other.
Were you just like, this is the moment I've been waiting for?
It's amazing. I loved it. And it's something I always wanted to do. I wanted to join the Air Force when I left school. It turns out
what do you guys call it? British Royal Air Force?
The Royal Air Force, yeah. So I was sort of, while I was doing my high school, I was also in the middle of applying. Okay. However, I then flunked out of high school and didn't get any grades. So apparently they don't want pilots that haven't got a high school diploma. So
I don't know what to say. Sorry about that.
Goddamn dyslexia.
Yep.
Anyway, flying in privately is pretty expensive. It's pretty hard to do, especially in the UK. It's very expensive to do. And then out here, there's nowhere to really do it. So a couple of years ago, I started flying a paraglider and a paramotor.
Okay, so we should point out you're the crazy guy flying around Guiones with the fan on your back.
Yeah, not the little helicopter things that fly around the beach. Those are the auto gyros.
When you say paraglider, you're talking about the big wing thing. Is that what you're talking about?
It's a big, it's like a big fabric kite.
Okay.
Almost like a kite surfer's kite or something like that, right. but bigger. Fabric wing that a paraglider would use to fly around with. But then for traditional paragliding, you need a way to get up in the air. So you normally run off the edge of a cliff or whatever. Mm-hmm. And there's too many trees around here for that. There's no good launch sites that I've found. So with a paramotor, you take a little 2-stroke engine and a fan, strap it to your back, and you just take off from the beach.
So if they did have nice jump off cliffs, if that's a thing, would you do that?
Oh, I'd love to do it here. Yeah, so there are other places in Costa Rica. And I do go and do it, but the nearest good site is a 3-hour drive. So it's
is that the Caldera spot?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a 6-hour drive, 6 hours in the car for me to go fly, which I get 1 day off a week, and that's quite a commitment to go and do that.
So you got to get your you call it your butt fan?
My butt fan, yeah. The paramotor.
That doesn't sound good. so you basically, you go to Guiones, or you find an open farm or something. I guess in the dry season, it's probably wet right now.
So I got permission from one of the local farmers to use a field for taking off and landing. And then when I went away over September, October, all the fields around here got planted up with rice. And so, I've got nowhere to...
So you lost your airstrip.
I've lost my airstrip. So I'm back to the beach, which is okay. The beach is great. I go pretty early in the morning or late in the evening. So it's normally quiet. I go down to the south end where there's nobody around. And I don't need a lot of space. I need 50, 100 meters of flat ground to take off, but I can only fly right now at low tide.
I guess that makes sense.
It's, I've kind of got to get until I can find another farmer with an empty field full of grass, then, yeah.
All right, so I guess we know why you like to fly. You went to an air show and it hit you like the Holy Ghost and you wanted to fly. Then we found out you're really bad at school. But I like to bust your balls, but seriously, you're super intelligent. So it obviously has nothing to do with your smarts. It's just the way school processes.
Well, I think maybe
or I might be giving you too much credit.
You might be giving me too much credit. Yeah. I'm pretty lazy, left to my own devices. I'm not.
I don't know if I believe you on that.
Well, but I do think that the English schooling system, particularly, we do the final set of exams that you do when you're 18 is long form essays, and I definitely feel like I knew the information going into those exams. I chose the most practical subjects I could. I was doing like woodwork, metalwork shop, and drama. And even at those, I
actually I have a hard time believing, because in real life, when you're walking around, you're the most dry, level-headed, engineerish kind of. You think you'd be a nerd and you don't joke around, because that's when people first meet you, they don't know this side of you that is actually quite humorous, and you're a pretty good smartass, and I really enjoy that about you. It was my favorite surprise in getting to know you. But in school, if you're writing long form essays and you have dyslexia, it sounds like you got a bad combination. Yeah,
I think so. I think I went into that. So even with those subjects, it was only 40% of the mark was on like the practical side of things. We had to do a little play for drama, I had to make some stuff, and then 60% of the mark was on written essays.
Okay. And for people from the US or somewhere else in the world, mark means grade.
Mark is grade. Okay. Yeah. So you study the subject, we study for 2 years, and at the end you do sit down, closed book, written test, and your grade on that is what you walk out of school with.
Jeez,
man. Which is brutal, because I mean, in this real world that we live in nowadays, when would you ever do a closed book scenario? Like, I'm sitting here with my phone in my pocket. I have the entire knowledge of the world in my pocket. So yeah, I don't feel that school, certainly the English school system, and I think from what I've seen, most school systems, I don't think they do a very good job of preparing kids for real life. I think they do a good, certainly in England, our education system, the people that used to, this is going way back, but the people that used to go to school weren't the people that worked. They were the people that owned the factories.
Well, they were aristocracy per se.
Exactly. And you went to school to turn you into a good dinner guest and to make you interesting. It wasn't really, the majority of what you learned once you could read and write wasn't that useful in anything. And when, I don't know, I guess somehow when education became mainstream and everybody was getting educated, there was that kind of move of well, we want what they've got. And so suddenly everybody's learning about Oxbow Lakes in geography and reciting the Kings of England. But I never got taught how to fill in a tax return at school.
I never learned about compound interest.
I never learned about compound interest. Never learned to sew on a button. Like, that's stuff you need in the real life. One day you're going to have a job interview the next day and your button's going to come off your shirt. Like, that's yeah.
So is it fair to say you're a little bit, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you're a little bit of...
I'm an angry man, could barely contain.
Well, now you're going to start a whole new school system and save the world.
That's it, yeah.
Or you find surfing and then you implement a lot of your methodologies in life into this system with Rue and this whole bad experience of school and not becoming a pilot gets you into surfing and you move to Costa Rica, and that's not so bad either.
Yeah, it's been a little bumpy path, but no, it's been fun. I spent a little while working on yachts, teaching sailing, teaching surfing.
Hey, is sailing in any way as fun as surfing?
I think it's different.
I know it's different, but is it fun?
I think so. I think so. I worked on
that wasn't so convincing for me, because you think a lot of weird stuff's fun. Like you'll get I'll give you like a gadget. You'll sit there. You'll think that's fun and play with it for like 35 minutes because you're just so.
I'm a nerd. No,
I'm sure you like sailing, but I'm pretty sure I would hate it.
Well, I don't know. I'll tell you what I enjoy about. I think the similarity with surfing and sailing is they're both sports that you can just turn up and do it.
Okay.
You know, you can just roll up to the beach, grab your board, and go for a surf.
You need waves and you need wind.
Well, yeah, okay, so the same's true. But with both sports, there's the option to really dive a whole lot deeper. You know, you can start learning about meteorology and oceanography and learning to forecast the waves. You can learn about material science and fluid dynamics and really get into board design.
Yeah, I could see you totally getting into that. Now, that does
and the same's true with sailing. You know, you can really get into the fine details of the sport, or you can just turn up, jump. You know, sailing is not particularly difficult. Surfing is not particularly difficult. You know, there's a learning curve, but you can get the basics reasonably quickly and go out and just have fun. I think sailing in general is slower, but I think on smaller boats, like little dinghies, you know, 1-2 man boat, the modern boats in a good wind, they're pretty fun. Like once you get a boat up on the plane and it's really flying, it's a pretty cool experience.
Who's a naval architect, and that's what he told me. He said once you get it up and going, he said the whole process of making all that happen and then feeling that glide, he said that's where it's similar to surfing.
Yeah, I would say, you know, there's that when you get a really good wave and you're going down the line and not necessarily trying to do anything. You just have one of those days where you're not trying to do turns or nose ride or whatever, and you just take off and you just glide across that face of the wave. And there's almost a disconnect. You can't really feel where that energy, where that speed, where that sensation is coming from. It's just this, just brilliant. And when you get a sailing boat on the plane and the thing's just cruising along downwind, there's that same wonderful just gliding sensation, and it's fun. And actually, that's what I love about paragliding. You know, get rid of the engine. That's what I love about that. You get up in the air and you're just hanging there in space, and there's just the wind whistling through the wires, and you can see everything that's going on, but you can't really see what it is that's keeping you up in the air, and it's wonderful. It's really wonderful.
The danger factor's got to be high
with the flying.
Yeah, it seems like it would be.
I believe. I'll have to check on this. I believe that certainly flying around with the motor on is one of the safer forms of general aviation.
Okay, question.
Yeah.
Is it safer to ride to Super Nosara on your quad or to fly around with your weird backpack fan thing?
Definitely safer to fly around.
Really?
Yeah. So just running statistics, flying around on the powered paraglider falls somewhere in between, like per hour that you're doing it, somewhere in between driving a car and driving a motorbike.
Interesting. So you have a backpack and these wires and just a couple hooks right here.
Yeah.
And you're never thinking about that. Is this going to fall off? Is this going to rip?
No, like everything in there is like the braking strain on it is way more than I'm ever going to put on it. You know, it'll hold 10 times my weight. I think the whole rig that I've got is tested to 15G. So my weight times 15, and it's still fine. So I'm not worried about any of that. If the motor stops, I mean, it's still a glider. I think we've got a little bit of video, roll tape.
Yeah, we're going to spin some of that while we're talking right now, so people can see what we're talking about.
I was going to say, like, you turn the engine off to land. You come in, and when you're 100 foot up, you switch the engine off just to remove
so about
any
100
complications.
Feet, you shut it off, and
you just glide in. But quite often, if I'm high up, I'll switch the engine off 3,000 or 4,000 feet up and just glide around until I'm back to the beach, because that's what's wonderful, is just having that engine off and just.
Wow, I'm just putting this together. You've seen Guiones and Palada, or Playas de Nosara and Esperanza and everything. You've seen it more than anyone else here.
I don't know about that.
Well, the pilots, even when they just come in, they just fly over real quick and they just kind of circle out over the ocean and then they come back in. You like fly all around this place.
Well, and it's very slow as well. You know, my top speed is about I don't know, 40 kilometers an hour, flat out. So I'm flying pretty slow, and there's no cockpit. There's nothing around me, and my legs are dangling in free space.
With glasses or special goggles, or?
I put goggles on, but really just for sun. I
Bugs never hit you smack in the face when you're flying around?
No, not that high up.
I get hit on a quad or a motorbike like a lot.
There's not a ton of bugs.
Any birds come pick on you or try to pick a fight?
No, not yet. But again, it's something I love about the free flying I've done here in Costa Rica at Caldera and in Jaco. Whenever I've flown, you're riding, when the wind switches and turns onshore, you get the wind coming in and it hits the cliff edge at Caldera and kind of goes up. And so as I'm flying along and using that updraft to stay in the air, so are the vultures, so are the seabirds. So yeah, that's been really cool. Is flying there and
going through their minds.
What's this fucking idiot doing?
Actually, that's what the people are thinking who are driving by. What are those idiots doing? And you're into it. You feel safe.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel safe. I mean, but then we all feel safe when we get in our car and we drive down the street. And we know that statistically, like, that's one of the most dangerous things we do every single day.
Right.
You know, like you get in your car and you drive down the street, there's a good chance, like just looking worldwide, there's a good chance you're going to have an accident at some point doing that.
Well, why don't you just fly to San Jose when you need something for price point?
2 reasons. Number one, might work. No, I don't think I'd have the endurance for it. I can only carry maybe 2.5 or 3 hours of fuel, and the trade winds are always east to west. So maybe San Jose back to here would work, but definitely not the other way.
Do you tack? Is it kind of like sailing or kite surfing? Is like
no.
So what if the wind comes up? It's blowing you the other direction. What do? You just got to get down?
Biggest thing is that in general, the higher you go, the stronger the wind is. Mm-hmm. You know, it's why airliners fly super, super high. Well, it's one of the reasons they fly super high is they can get into winds and get going. In general, the lower you go, the slower the winds are. I mean, before I fly, I check the forecast. Mm-hmm. I sit on the ground and watch what's going on, and I make sure that it's not going to be a howling offshore day, because, yeah, you know, we get 40, 50 kilometer an hour offshore winds. Yeah. And if I got caught in that, I'm going out to sea. I do have a life jacket. I fly with a life jacket just in case.
Can you get a little rubber dinghy thing?
Just row myself back to the beach. Hi guys.
Or if your
actually, I wouldn't even know. Yeah, right. No,
we're getting carried away.
But no, so you know, I wait for days when the wind's calm and there's nothing too much going on, and that's when I go fly.
Wow, what a trip!
I think we should go and strap you into it.
There's like 6 jokes right there, but let all that go. So let's move over to surf. And this is something that we both seem to enjoy. What are your board preferences?
Man, that's a really hard question. I have a lot of surfboards.
Me too.
I also am part owner of a surf school that has a lot of different boards. And I enjoy, you know, it's one of the things I enjoy is...
So start spitting out your preferences. Like, just take us through it.
All right. Okay. I like the board I like most is the one that's going to fit the conditions.
Okay.
I'm not a hardened like longboarder or shortboarder. I've got a bodyboard. I've got hand planes and you know, I'll go body surf. Been having a lot of fun recently just on this 7.6 mid-length. And just going out and cruising around, and it's kind of that nice mix between catching waves easily, but I can still kind of turn it top to bottom a little bit. Yeah, I don't have a firm like this board.
I like that about you. That's probably how we became friends. Actually, was that because I'm the same thing. If it's what my biggest dislike in surfing is sinking. Or riding a board, if you're trying to turn it and the wave's too soft, then you just kind of sink and you have to do this little crappy turn. I hate that. I'd rather just not go surf. So I'd rather ride the right board, essentially. So if it's, you know, if it's strong, I'd love to ride shortboards, but I'm big. And at Guiones, the wave is, it's a cream puff. I mean, let's just be honest. It is. It's a great place to learn for beginners and intermediates. And it's a phenomenal place to longboard. So...
I think that there are a few people that can really take a high-performance shortboard and make it look good at guiones.
Yep, I don't like them.
But I don't like them either.
Our sound guy, Andres, he's one of those guys, and I only like him part of the time.
Yeah, I am not one of those guys. I cannot make a full high-performance shortboard look good at guiones. I can make something a little fatter, a little fishier. No, I can't make any. I can't make any board look good. I can have fun on something that's a little fatter, a little fishier, or I think Guiones is an amazing longboard wave. We've got a couple of guys on our crew that are really, really good longboarders, and that's great fun. We were out there this morning actually, 5 or 6 of us on big, heavy glass longboards, just cruising around having fun, and so. I don't know.
Hey, can you go back to middlings for a second?
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm going to have some egg on my face here. I'm going to have to eat some crow or whatever that saying is. I've always said longboard, and I really like to walk around on it. Like I don't like getting a board and just standing there in one spot forever. Now, if you're finding the glide or you're doing rail work or working on trim, by all means, that's a little bit different story. A skip fry type of surfer. But most of the people in Guiones, I think, are riding the wrong boards. And everyone's racing to go shorter because it's cool and they see other people do it. So it's like, well, I better do that too. But they're riding the wrong equipment. So I would either be like longboard or very, very short. This whole mid-length, getting back to my point, mid-length is something I've always been anti. I've never thought there was a place in the lineup for a fun board. I mean, like a fun board, like a mid-length for real surfers. Now, I'm trying to learn how to ride a mid-length.
There you go.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
It's not easy because riding a longboard is real simple. It's like, all right, I know how to nose ride it. I know how to turn it. Shortboards, all right, fine. Get on a mid-length and I try to ride it like a shortboard and I can't. And I can't glide on it quite like a longboard either because you can't move quite as much to get in the right spot. So I'm at a complete loss on mid-lengths right now. I have to admit it. So
I think that's cool. I think that's, going back to your point, I think that's probably one of the reasons we get along. Like we're both happy to take our preconceived conclusions and throw them out the window in light of better evidence.
It's a lot more fun that way.
Life is a lot more fun that way. I think with mid-length surfing, I agree. I think a lot of people are riding the wrong boards. It's something that we deal with all the time at Surf Simply, and one of the things we've done is kind of a twofold thing. Is number one, we've tried to break down all the various different skills within surfing, and then build it into a kind of flow chart. We call it the tree of knowledge.
I was going to say, so we're going into your tree right now.
Yeah, so we've got this tree of knowledge. We'll put some links in the show notes, I guess. It's online if anyone wants to see it. But we've got that. And then the second thing we've done is created a volume to weight chart, which a lot of surfboard companies have that. And, you plug in your details and you say, okay, I'm this height. But then it gets difficult because they say, what level surfer are you? Yeah, beginner, intermediate, advanced.
It's the intermediate one that's the problem.
Right. Here's the problem. Everybody's an intermediate. Like, what is a bit... The trouble is most of those, they don't define what they mean. And so what we've done with ours is we've linked it directly to this tree of knowledge. So it's like, what are you doing? Like, what skills are you working on that tree? And here's not the board you should be riding, but the smallest board you should be riding.
Ah, nice.
Because there's no reason, level 4, we go up. Level 4 is where we've kind of...
That's your plateau. That's your...
Well, it's where we've topped out. It's not where surfing tops out. We've got level 4 as like an
just
introduction
system,
to high-performance surfing. But so there's no reason a level 4 surfer can't be riding a longboard. You look at one of our coaches, Asher, incredible surfer, probably one of the better surfers on the beach most days. At least half the days he's out there, he's on a huge 9-foot, 9.8 heavy glass longboard and making it look beautiful. So there is no such thing as like riding a board that's too big. There's definitely the problem of riding a board that's too small, because the smaller you go, the less, kind of like you're saying, the less you can rely on the wave's energy to give you speed.
Right.
And by the time you get down to a high performance shortboard, the wave is not really going to give you very much like that. The planing surface of a high-performance shortboard is too inefficient. So you have to be putting that board in the right place at the right time and at the right attitude, on rail or flat to the water. And any mistake you make on that is going to cost you speed And if you don't have speed, you can't do the maneuvers anyway. By scaling up, by riding something a little bit bigger, a little bit more surface area, a little bit more more planing area at the back of the board, you can get away with bad timing. Because that's actually one of the things that people overlook a lot with the really great surfers. It's not just that they have an ability to do a great turn. It's that they have the ability to time that turn with the wave perfectly.
Exactly. And reading the wave and connecting the rail in the right spot. It is.
Absolutely. And so going back to your original question, I think what a mid-length board allows you to do is to really carry a lot of volume and a lot of surface area and a lot of rail length. So the board is going to carry speed. Not as much as a longboard, but it's going to carry speed. But you've then got a board that is still maneuverable. Like it does take a lot of skill to turn a longboard well. Turning a mid-length, as long as your biomechanics and your technique are good, turning a mid-length board, high 6 foot to high 7 foot, say, turning a board like that.
We still good to record in the dark?
Oh, there we go.
That's Costa Rica.
There we go. Turning a mid-length board, high 6 foot to high 7 foot, low 8 foot range, say. Like, that doesn't take any additional technique and skill that it does with a longboard. And I think most surfers with a few tweaks to their technique can start to get cutbacks and little re-entries and stuff on a mid-length. I
got you. So the accessibility to your average surfer is significantly higher.
Significantly higher, and the success rate I think most surfers, when they go out in the water, just go out and surf. And one of the things we always try to encourage our guests to do is not every surf, but on a good number of sessions, go out with, I'm going to work on X, Y, or Z. And that drill has to be appropriate to the conditions, but go out and work on X, Y, and Z. And I think when you start doing that, your success rate with the drills will be higher on the bigger board, which will keep you engaged in the process of getting better and better and better and better.
I guess that makes sense.
Like our biggest, or one of our big philosophies, I guess, there's that statement, the best surfer out there is the one having the most fun, which I think is a really cool way to look at it. Whether you're a great surfer or you're just learning, like if you're putting a smile on your face, that's fantastic. But we like to flip that around a little bit and say that the better you get, the more fun you can have in a wider range of conditions.
Okay, I like your philosophy a lot more.
So your beginner surfer, sure, he's got a big smile on his face one day, but then the next day it's raging on shore, it's lumpy and it's bumpy. If you can learn the skills to read those waves and pick off the good ones, well, suddenly you put a smile on your face even in those conditions.
I gotcha. Yeah, we're on the same page for sure. So my story was, grew up in Florida, there's no waves. So coming up through the 80s and early 90s, the idea of riding a longboard made you instantly uncool.
Yeah.
Like it's worse than not surfing. So I went away to college to play baseball, realized I didn't want to play baseball anymore, got hurt, and started surfing.
You played baseball to quite a high level, didn't you?
Just into college. I didn't go past that. So, but when I got to college, I'm sitting there and everyone's good. Everyone's trying to go pro. Like it's so intense. It really wasn't fun. And I never one time stopped to think, do I like doing this? I just did it because I was good at it. But I never liked it. So what happened? I broke my hand, couldn't pitch anymore, and I just sat there and thought for the first time, I'm like, what am I doing? And I watched all these people. Anyway, I went home. I went surfing once, and I was like, this was fun. I enjoyed this. I really like it.
Yeah.
So what got me, though, was my friends had these old clunker longboards, and we're at waves probably suck in England, I'm sure, too, but they suck in Florida as well. The majority of the time. When they're good, they're good. Yeah. But it doesn't happen
Every
very
beach
often.
has its day.
Yeah, but just not enough if you want to have a hobby of surfing and you're 6'3". Yeah. So I got this big longboard because my friends would ride by on just the smallest day, and they'd be riding 50, 75 yards or say meters for you logical metric using people.
Oh, no. Don't go down that route, because England is the worst.
Okay.
We're like half and half. We can't decide which camp we're in.
You're lukewarm. You're worse than us then.
We do like miles and feet, but kilograms and blah.
Hey, at least us US folks are so hard-headed. We're just like, screw all you guys. we're gonna use this.
I'll tell you the one that's been really annoying me. This is a complete tangent, but the thing that's been really annoying me.
We like tangents. It's kind of me and you.
Frickin' sizing things in fractions of an inch.
Give me an example.
Well, okay, so like wrench sizes. Wrench and nut sizes. What was I trying to find? It was something where I needed a 4mm nut. Or it was a 4mm hole and I needed something to go into that 4mm.
Dude, you're making this too hard. If my wife is here.
Sorry. I had like a 4mm hole and I needed to find something that would go into it. And the hardware store here basically just has US sizes, which are also a fraction of an inch. And I was having to sit there with a calculator. I was like, is it like 65th, 74th? Is that bigger or smaller? It made no sense to me at all. So that's complete tangential.
No,
but why not just use like 0.3 of an inch, 0.4 of an inch, 0.5 of an inch? Like that's so much easier to understand.
You know my number one rule of living here is don't make sense. And you're a very logical man. So not making sense is hard for you. So I can see you frustrated at the Ferreteria.
It upsets me.
Doing the calculations.
What were we actually talking about?
I don't know. I was talking about longboarding.
Oh, yeah.
So
carry on.
No worries. So these guys were having a blast.
Yeah.
And I'm on this little shortboard trying to look cool because I was always told, ride shortboards. And the people who taught me how to surf were just like, don't ever ride one of those. Those are for kooks. And I was like, okay, I don't want to be a kook. I'm not going to do that. And these guys were having a blast. So I tried one day and it really opened everything for me because it's like, wait a second, I can go on a 6-inch day and have a good time or a 6-foot day and have a good time. And it opened surfing up for me. Yeah. So surfing became like my daily pursuit. So I drove around town to all my jobs with 11-foot something old Autry beat up board, an old crappy Dodge Dynasty. But I couldn't get enough of surfing. And that's what kind of got me to Costa Rica. So when I get to Costa Rica, fast forwarding up until the time I moved here, I'm like, I don't have to ride longboards anymore. Now I live in Costa Rica. So I just jump on shortboards. And Eric at the time, who ironically is 2-time SUP champion.
Yeah, I was about to say, he's done a full
That's
reverse.
A whole nother story. We're all hypocrites, man. We're all doing things today that we weren't the other day. But again, that's the fun part of this, right? So anyway, Eric was like, dude, let's go to Osty. Every single session, we're going to Osty, pulling into closeouts. And here I am from Florida, like, just getting trucked. But I'm like, all right, shortboarding. Now I'm back on that. About 2 years in, I started finding out when I got out of the water at Guiones, I was getting angrier.
Yeah.
And it went to where I only had fun maybe 1 out of 2 sessions or maybe 1 out of 3 because I was riding really small boards because I thought that was it. And just started learning how to do airs and a little bit better maneuvers. And my satisfaction was going down. And that's when it hit me. It's like, I'm breaking what I learned way back in Florida is just ride whatever the conditions give you. Yeah. So anyway, pulled out the longboards again, got back after it, didn't ride shortboards for years. So I go the wrong way. And then I got hurt. And now I so badly want to ride a shortboard, but I can't surf anymore. And I'm fat and I sink and I want to turn and I can't because the wave won't give it to me. And it's so frustrating. So,
I've got a fun board for you to try.
Oh yeah? What is it?
We just got some new boards for the resort and we got some that are a little bit different, but I would say this is similar volume to a smaller longboard. Like not a real big, heavy, high volume board.
I don't like one of my friends, Etienne, he has like a 7.6 or 7.10 round nose board, and he calls it a long board. And I've almost physically struck him.
No. I'm not talking about that.
Don't take me there.
That's a mid-length. No. This is a.
Well, hold on. I gotta finish my Etienne burn. He thinks that's a long board, and other people do too, because they're like, oh, well, it has a rounded nose, so that's a long board. I'm like, it's not a long board if it's not over 9 foot.
Well, from a contest there, that's an interesting one because the contest rule says it's got to be over 9 foot to be a longboard. But
that's for small people. For me,
okay, so you and me are both over 6 foot. Like our boards, what is a longboard to us? Like we have a massive advantage if we've only got to ride a 9 foot board compared to say my girlfriend who is 5'1", 100 pounds. Like 9 foot board is huge for her. And you do that like volume to weight calculation.
You can never go too big, though.
710 board with a nice rounded nose. That's kind of the same as me riding a 9-foot board.
Yeah, but Etienne's enormous too. So
yeah, okay.
I stick by my Etienne burn. But back to us. Tell me about that board you're talking about.
Okay, sorry. So volume, just raw volume wise, it's about 60 liters or so.
That's big.
So that's big. That's like a good, like a smaller longboard sort of volume, but 7.6 pulled in nose. Still quite performance-y rails. Worked really well. I went and had a surf. Well, the conditions right now, it's been kind of high tide in the mornings and the afternoons. High tide, shoulder high, maybe the occasional head high one coming through. And I had great fun on this board. Super, super fun.
Was it just finding the trim and getting the rail engaged and finding kind of that?
No. I was able to like surf it top to bottom, do some nice cutbacks.
Did you say moving around and turning? That was still fun.
Yeah, super fun.
I don't know if I believe you.
Well,
we'll see.
We'll have to sit back now. I'm going to have to lend you the board, and then we'll have to sit down.
And you know what? If it is fun, I will apologize.
There we go.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
My wife, it's actually kind of eerily similar to your girlfriend because they're both the same height, the same size. They both kind of look sort of the same. So we have a common issue here. I want to ride a board. She wants to ride a board. And how do we share a board? Because our ratios are so far off. She wants to be able to duck dive it, but still have paddle power. I don't care about duck diving at all because I'm used to riding big longboards and huge SUPs and big closeout surf. And I'm used to just letting the board go or pushing it over the top of the whitewater. She's not. She wants to be able to duck dive it. So my question is, where's the right balance in there of duck diving to paddling, and how do you guys do that inside of like your matrices you were just describing? Yeah.
Okay. So there is a volume to weight percentage that.
So let's say it's Paige. The same size.
Well, so there's going to come a point when, for a physical size, duck diving a board is going to become difficult. Not impossible. One of our coaches, Tommy, I mean, his little party trick is he'll duck dive any longboard you throw at him, and he'll duck dive through whitewater with it. It's the guy has a lot of muscle. I'm super impressed. But there's going to come a size when it is difficult. There's two things that we do. Number one is try and focus in on the technique of duck diving, because I think most people just push the nose under and try and control the tail a little bit, but they've never really engaged with the technique. And so we'll get people into the swimming pool. We'll put a very, very small, like really small little shortboard in, and we'll make them do it real slow and just focus on the technique and controlling the board through it, because the better you can control the board, the bigger the board that you can comfortably duck dive.
That makes sense. So Tommy, or even myself, only reason I learned how to do that was from paddling out SUPs. And it was just like a survival thing, because if your leash breaks, it's a long swim in, and then you're holding a big paddle. Yeah. And this is pre-injury when I used to do that stuff.
But well, and with a SUP's a really interesting one, because you don't have the fallback option of being able to roll the board, because you got to paddle in this hand, and you guys have like rails that are so thick you can't get the hands around them. So, because this is the other thing that we'll do. Like, there's no reason you can't roll the board. And again, turtle rolling the board is something where most people just like grab on and roll over upside down. And there's way more technique to a good, efficient turtle roll. And that's one of the fun ones. One of the things I love about my job is we get quite a lot of experienced surfers coming to us now. Like, it used to be that we had all beginners that had really had, maybe one whitewater lesson before, and that was it. And we get quite a lot of experienced surfers coming now, and you get to do these lessons where you're like opening a door for them.
Yeah,
and just showing them a whole bunch of stuff that they'd never even thought about. And the turtle roll is an amazing one. You get someone that surfed for 10 years and fought through whitewater, and you show them this tweaked technique, and the next time they paddle out, they go, oh man, I wish I knew that 10 years ago.
So it was worth all the money to come learn that one thing.
And it like, I'll turtle roll my shortboard on occasions. Like, if in certain situations, I will turtle roll a shortboard, because a shortboard is easier to turtle roll than a longboard is. It's smaller, it's lighter, it's easier to hold on to. And if I've got no forward motion, if I've just come up from one wave and I'm just pulling the board in, and there's another wave coming, I'll just roll it. And it's by far and away the easiest way to control the board in that impact zone.
Interesting.
But I think a lot of people don't want to do that. They're intimidated by it. Particularly, that classic technique where people just kind of grab on and roll over. Like the board's right there in your face and get whacked around. Like, that's not fun. So, we have people get away from the board and yeah.
And get their feet down. And so let me ask you this. Would you rather, or maybe if you don't do this, maybe I'd love to ask Tommy sometime. Mm-hmm. Would you rather duck dive your longboard to get through, let's say, a pretty good sized wave, 6-8 foot, not small, not huge, but would you rather duck dive that or turtle roll it? And I'm sure the timing of it adjusts a little bit. But
yeah, okay. So I think if you remove the obstacle of the board size, once you got the technique down, duck diving's great. Like, it's a wonderful thing.
I don't turtle roll at all anymore, like ever. Because I never learned the technique that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And when people hold it here, what I learned was, if you're holding this big, huge board and something really heavy lands on top of it, you can pop yourself right in the face really quick. Yeah. I've seen that happen. Yeah. Or if you can the board literally can just vaporize out of your hands and then you bust your leash and then you got to swim. Mm-hmm. And I figured out that if I duck dive, I'll get pulled back and I'll have to deal with some stuff, but I'll keep the board and I'm safer and less chance of leash breaking. And I don't know, I just became more comfortable with it. So maybe that's a mistake.
You do have certain advantages in doing that, in that you are a big unit. You got a lot of muscle to hold on to.
I got everything. I got a lot of fat muscle, height, you name it. Foam.
Yeah, I don't know.
So if you're a large gargantuan type of person, duck dive. Is that your answer?
No. I think my answer is it depends on the way. It depends on the situation. Like, yeah, given a board that I can easily duck dive, I'll duck dive it. Because it's easier. Like,
so
once
is it more if you're stagnant, as in you don't have momentum? Because there's a big difference if you have momentum.
Exactly.
Going
if I'm stationary in the water for whatever reason, if I don't have forwards paddle speed, if I'm on a slightly bigger board, then I'll roll. And I certainly don't view. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to sit there slogging it wave after wave after wave, but I don't want to do that duck diving either. Like, a hard paddle out's a hard paddle out, but I certainly don't find like rolling a 9-foot board through a bunch of white water that much harder than duck diving my shortboard through multiple runs of white water.
For you, I need to learn this technique.
Because this is the other thing, your shortboard paddles way slower.
That's true.
So if you've got a good roll technique, once you're paddling, you're out there.
Okay,
whereas
so
if you're on a little shortboard,
you're right. You're saying that's right. You can hit it anytime. You're saying that the roll technique doesn't expend as much energy as maybe I'm thinking it is. Because for me, you have the roll, you have all the other stuff I was just talking about. But it's also, now I got to roll it back over, get back on top of it, get going.
I think with any physical skill, the better your technique, the more efficient it is, the less energy it uses. And that's true whether you're, pitching a baseball or turtle rolling a longboard. And I think the interesting thing is that as surfers, even when we think about improving our technique and working on our technique, invariably we think about improving our technique when we're stood up on the wave, flying across the wave face. And the reality is, on any given session, you're going to spend 80 or 90% of your time in the water paddling around, trying to be in the right place at the right time at the right speed to get the opportunity to stand up on the board and look cool.
Yeah, that's true.
And the better you are at that other stuff, the paddling, the turtle rolling, reading and understanding the waves and the water movement in the lineup, the more time and energy you spend focusing on that, the more time you'll get stood up on the board and working on those techniques.
So we say that we're surfing, it's almost like we're paddling. Really.
It's kind of weird. Unless you're in a wave pool, because then the wave just comes to you.
So I'm glad you brought that up. Let's talk about wave pools. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts? Because you went to one.
We did, yeah.
Why don't you tell us about that?
Quite exciting. Actually, I've surfed a couple of different wave pools.
Really?
Yeah.
Which ones?
I've been out to the one in Abu Dhabi, the Wadi Adventure pool, and I've got to surf Slater's one in California.
Jeez, dude. I'm pretty jealous.
I've tried to surf the Wave Garden one in the UK, and every time I've tried to go there, it's broken.
That was a pretty bad shout out to Wave Garden, but so Kelly's pool, you got to go surf at the surf ranch.
Yeah.
What was it like, man?
It's really interesting. It's really interesting. That's obviously it's their test facility. Like, that's not a facility they ever have plans to open up to the public. That they're building other ones that they will open up. and the shape of that body of water existed before they got there.
It used to be like a skiing lake.
Yeah, it's like a water ski lake. So they kind of designed the wave around the fact that they had a pool that shape. I mean, the wave is incredible. And actually, it's an interesting one. Going back to trying to catch the wave, we were warned by a few people that have surfed it. Like you're going to get lots of people missing the wave. Like really, it's not easy to catch. And we had no problems at all. But I think it's because all of our guys are so used to trying to like look at the wave and really vocalize like what they're seeing and what's happening and pass that on. And it is a little bit weird. You have to like paddle this funny like S course in order to catch the waves. But with very few like missed waves because of the misread. And actually partly that was the guys that worked there did a fantastic job of like guiding and lining people up with waves as well. The waves insanely long.
Really?
Yeah. Actually really interesting, when we were there were some guys from Cal State University. And they were doing a bunch of testing, but they had heart rate monitors. The Hurley team were there the day before us, and they had heart rate monitors on them when they were surfing. And the guys would surf along, they'd be ripping all these turns, and then they'd fall. And everyone just assumed, well, they're falling, they're trying all these different turns. Eventually, like, you're going to fall, you don't fall, you're not trying hard enough. But then what was really interesting, they said when they put the heart rate monitor, the readouts from the heart rate monitors alongside the footage, these guys were going, the heart rate's going right up, they're paddling in, heart rate's up, they're surfing down the line, the heart rate's up. And at about the 30-second mark, the heart rate would start to drop off a little bit, and they'd fall. And they didn't have the endurance to be able to surf a wave that's that long.
Wow.
They couldn't surf the wave at full intensity. Because you think about it, as a surfer, you train, you do the same thing over and over and over and over again. And we surf, what's an average wave? Like 15 seconds, 20 seconds?
On a good day.
Yeah. So suddenly, like if you surf start to finish on that wave, it's like 45, 50 seconds, something like that. And so these kids were gassing out. And they didn't really have the endurance within them to be able to keep going for that long.
I think surfing's it's been stagnant for a really long time, in my opinion. If you look at it, the fins, we're still using the same general fin design on the most common surfboards from 1980, 81ish, when Simon kind of introduced the thruster. Still, the majority of the boards out there are still thrusters or quads. And the board dynamic is still kind of the same size. And I think what held it back for so long is through the 80s and 90s, it wasn't cool to ride these different craft. I think with the information age coming out, then people, all these movies that, Thomas Campbell's done, and Joel Tudor's out there riding at Pike, he's riding mid-lengths and all over the place. It kind of became cool again a little bit, but I guess what I'm saying is I think it lost the spot where it stopped being uncool to ride a twin fin or to ride. Like I was telling Robbie was in from Olola the other day. And I was like, Robbie, you're doing a lot of good for the world and a lot of bad for the world. And he's like, how so? I was like, well, the good that you're doing is that you're getting people on the right equipment because he sells a lot of fat, beefy type surfboards. And the bad is all those people are now going to be catching waves. So Keanu's is ridiculously crowded, right? But it's a friendly lineup. Most of the people aren't super high level surfers. So when a good set comes through, not everybody wants that. And if everybody's riding the right equipment, I'm not sure if it's good or bad, man. I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, surfing is incredibly conservative. Like, just in general, you look at it, if you look at trends within it, it's insanely conservative.
We just like everything new, too.
No, we don't like anything new until Slater's using it, or until something like that.
For that too.
And then we want it.
Hey, what's one thing that surfers have embraced? Because if you go down,
have embraced or haven't embraced?
No, have embraced as in enjoyed it and said, "Hey, that's a nice idea." Because if you think about it, when it went from balsa to foam, ridiculed, horrible. When wetsuits came in, ridiculed, horrible. When leashes came in,
there's nothing. There is
literally
no...
every single thing that comes. Surfers.
Yeah,
we're idiots.
Surfers are the worst.
Yeah,
as another podcast likes to say. But no, I think there's so much stuff that we don't, you said you got a friend who's a naval architect. Like there is so much stuff that we just have no idea about the surfboard. And going to what you were talking about with the fins, if you go on Futures or FCS's website, they'll talk about their hydrodynamically tested fins and whatever. To the best of my knowledge, nobody has any idea what direction the water flow is past the fins when you're doing a turn. So I don't know what baseline data they're hydrodynamically testing their fins against, but it's not real world circumstances, because as far as I can tell, nobody's ever put like a flow meter or anything like that on the bottom of the board. There's one guy I've found did it. It was an engineering student in Australia, and he drilled a hole through the surfboard and then stuck a camera on the deck, but looking down through this hole, glassed over it, and then stuck these little very, very fine string. So it would dangle across the camera lens, and then synced that camera with one on the beach. So as the guy's surfing, you can see the streamers move left and right with the water flow. And the range of directional flow on that water is huge.
It seems like there's a good chance one day... okay, here's the comparison for skateboarding. When I grew up skateboarding, the nose was round in the front, it was square in the back, you rode that way. Skateboards somewhere, I don't know, maybe in the 90s or somewhere there.
Now all the vert stuff.
Yeah, now they're the same each way, and now your skateboarding switch foot is super common, extremely common. Surfboards are still kind of the same thing. We have the square at the back, pointy nose at the front, we stand one way. But now as you start looking at the WSL and you start looking at free surfers and you look at Jamie O'Brien's videos and people, and Julian Wilson, these guys, people are doing shove it surfing. The other, like it's heading that direction, but it's also not able to head direction the same way because your playing surface is always different. Yeah,
and I think as well, you're not reliant on the shape of a skateboard to...
Costa Rica, man. No one said we had a high production value.
You're not reliant on with a skateboard, you're not reliant on the shape of the board to generate your speed and thrust and directional stability.
Wait, is that true? I mean, you are a little.
No.
Not in the same way.
Maybe all you need is the shape of the board provides that pop.
I gotcha.
But otherwise you could put, the wheels and gravity are doing everything else.
I see what you're saying.
Like the shape of the surfboard has to interact with the flow of water on the wave, and the way that you want the front end of the board to interact and the way you want the back end to interact are different. And so it'd be very, very hard, I think, to have a double-ended. People have tried it. There's a few guys that played around with it.
I see a bet coming. I'm 42 right now.
Yeah.
You're like 36, 35?
36, yeah.
Let's do a 30-year bet. I bet you in 30 years.
You think we'll get that far?
I'm probably not going to. You might. Well, actually, you fly around up in the sky. You're probably a goner soon too. But just don't get hit by lightning. All right, back to the bet. Let's say 30 years.
Okay.
I think surfboards will go both directions. I don't think that they'll be the exact same fins on each side, but I think one side will have the ability to. I think that's going to happen. I'll take that bet. And you take the anti, because you just said you didn't think it would. And I think it will.
Yeah, no, it's on record.
All right.
Well, no, I'm just saying I think the board would need to be very adaptive in some way, shape, or form. I think the shape, you'd have to have some very clever flex memory to the board, and it would need to be able to adapt to the shape in order to do that, and we don't have the materials to do that at
I
this
agree
point
with you
in
on
time.
all that, but I think wave pools, if they catch and they don't become a fad that comes and goes, and again, surfers are tearing them apart.
I think they're going to... Have you seen that one in Australia?
The big mushroom
plunger
thing.
Oh, it's a Mad Max come to surfing. It's amazing.
Crap, you could put those in lakes.
Well, you put it anywhere. But that's the most...
How do we get one
that
of
is
those?
the most steampunk bit of engineering I've ever seen. Like, the noises it makes
who thought
are
of
insane. I don't know who did it originally. I mean, they've got Ockie and Barton Lynch as the frontmen for it, but I assume some highly intelligent professor at a university came up with it.
Well, definitely wasn't, no offense, but definitely wasn't Ockie.
You think?
I hope he never sees that if I ever see him and takes offense to it. But wave pools are going to change everything. And I think surfers, all right, I'm going to take some flack for this. I think surfers should stop bitching about wave pools as a bad thing, because not everyone lives right by a surf break, and waves are inconsistent. Some of us have to work a lot. And very few people can have the guts or willingness to do what you and I did and just move to another country that has warm water, consistent surf. Most people have normal jobs. And heaven forbid you have a family and bills to pay. And then you have that whole weekend warrior thing. But then as surfers, we also complain about the weekend warriors. So we complain about the crowds, then we complain about...
we're terrible individuals. We're terrible
And then here
individuals.
comes wave pools, which literally might change the world. I think they need to go put wave pools on the Gaza Strip and be like, all right, Palestinians, Israelis, here's your guns. Put them down for a second. Y'all go surf for an hour. And then if you still feel like fighting, then go ahead.
I'm not sure if it would work. There is actually
I didn't say it'd work. I'd like to try.
There is somebody that does that. There is somebody that has...
Like a Paskowitz kind of?
There is a charity that tries to arrange for surf lessons, because there's good surf on the Israeli coast.
No. That's no, there's not.
There isn't.
There extremely seldom is good surf.
Well, okay, there is usable surf. There is sufficient surf on sufficient number of days to do your classic whitewater soft top surf lesson.
I'm with you. So whitewater soft top, we're in. But I don't think they're going to stop shooting each other if they only have a soft top. We got to give them something. Something with a little bit more pizzazz, man.
Everyone could get barreled. All the problems of the world will go away. That's the interesting one, actually, with the wave pools. Is it going to devalue the barrel? Because it kind of did through that Slater contest. The WCT event they did. Like, guys getting 10-second barrels and getting 4-point rides.
Jeez, man.
Is the barrel only valuable because of its scarcity?
Okay,
and if you take that away with the wave pool, then where are we going to, like, what's going to become the cool thing to do?
I don't know, man. Maybe you're getting kind of analogous into like the 1%, the old phrase, because a lot of the 1% has all the money, right? And all the rest of the people don't really have that much. But the richest 1% of the people in the world have a massive chunk of money. I see barrels the same way. There's only a couple people in the world who truly get barreled, like really, really barreled.
Yeah, but that's...
And now this great equalizer's making Joe Average Surfer have a chance at some tube time.
When we went to the wave pool, we took what I think, would not be unfair to say some average surfers. And we had a day there with the clients, and we were able to coach, and that was incredible because we were literally sitting on the back of the jet ski, almost, a little further away than you and me are now, but somebody up and riding, and I'm sitting right there.
Wow.
All right, a little bit of break now, crouch down low. We were getting those guys barreled. They were pulling in by the end of the day. We had quite a few of them get in and out.
But what's wrong with devaluing the barrel, man? That's the best devaluation ever. Like, if you could do that with
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying it's going to be an interesting... It's going to be an interesting problem to your Middle East peace process. If wave pools devalue the barrel, then so where do we go from here?
Man, that's also like... Okay, fair enough. That could happen. That being said, if we could have a little bit of progress, or one generation that took a little bit of a break because they still enjoyed barrels.
Yeah.
I think the world should do it. I think wave pools are a big, big blessing. Of course, everything has a lot of the detriments, but I'm thinking of all the people in Kansas. And I lived in Atlanta for a little while. A surfer who lives in Atlanta, there's nothing to ride. They only have a couple lakes, and there's tons of boats, and you can't even really wakeboard. Like, it's horrible.
Yeah.
And that's when I went from thinking wave pools weren't that great to I decided I really wanted a wave pool. Like, bad. And as a kid, I've always thought about that. A lot of people are scared of the water, getting in the water. Nothing will ever replace the ocean, obviously. I'm not saying people shouldn't surf in the ocean. I'm just saying if you get access to a good wave pool with a barrel, why not?
I always, the analogy I always use is climbing, like rock climbing. And the explosion in climbing gyms that happened 20, 30 years ago.
Did climbers get mad about that?
Oh, yeah. Like, in exactly the same way, like that you're taking this amazing pursuit of an experience in nature, and you're trying to like replicate that in the worst way with these colorful plastic blobs attached to...
Joe Average person now can get to the top because they can follow a color-coded...
Right.
I get you.
But
that makes sense.
The reality is what it's done is it's made taking climbing from this very small community to being a huge sport. I mean, it was an Olympic demonstration sport. Sports climbing was an Olympic demonstration sport a year ago or something.
Do you think those same climbers are mad still, or did they get over it?
No,
now
I don't think
it's
so.
It's great for the sport.
Yeah, I think it's good. I'm sure the first couple of rainy days that they had where they couldn't go out and climb natural rock. They went into the gym and they started bouldering around and having a good time. And now it's just, it's an integral part of the community. Every city you go to now has a climbing gym has a community of people that are engaged in it, which means the gear's cheaper, it's better, there's more stuff involved with it. You've got sports scientists taking an interest in climbing because there's so many people who are climbers. Everything improves.
I got you. So what we've established today, that surfers are idiots.
Surfers are the worst.
Climbers are idiots. And British people are worse than United States people because you guys still have halfway embraced the metric system. And your education system sucks. And they kick you out of school.
I'm not sure if I'm going to go that England's worse than America because of it, but I'll definitely concede those points.
Okay,
I'll concede those points, but I do have a long list of other points.
Okay, you're right. All right, point taken. I concede. All right, who's the bigger imperialist power?
Oh, goodness.
Who's caused more problems? British, because you guys really messed up India, and Gandhi was over there. He was being all cool, and you guys kind of suck. But the U.S. people, we kind of suck now because we have Trump, and I don't know if we can recover from that.
Yeah, there is nothing that I can possibly say in defense of the imperialistic march of the United Kingdom across the world. But that was 200 years ago. So.
Some people would say you and I are doing that right now, bringing our white selves here to Costa Rica. I think we're trying to escape it and ride waves.
Yeah. Well...
What do you think on that? We'll argue about that next episode. So let's bounce over to where we live for a minute. Let's talk about Nosara. What do you like about this place?
Well, look, I think the biggest thing, like the reason that I'm here, the reason that Surf Simply is here, is I do genuinely believe that this is probably one of the most consistent surf breaks anywhere on the planet. It's not the greatest wave in the world. It's never going to be a world tour stop. It's not an amazing wave. But I've lived here for 9 years now, and I have never seen it not surfable. It is surfable on high tide, on low tide. It's surfable offshore and onshore. In fact, like it's funny with the flying. I've been spending a little bit of time down in Jaco and Hermosa and stuff like that. Like when it goes onshore there, it properly goes onshore. There is no way, like it's completely blown out. It's a complete chunky mess. When it goes onshore here, it's still pretty good. Big waves, small waves, north swell, south swell, it doesn't matter. Like this beach just keeps producing waves. I mean, that is an insane thing to exist.
Well, for a 6-foot-something guy from England and a 6-foot-something guy from Florida, amazingly
that's
consistency.
a pretty good thing. Yeah. We're pretty happy about that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think this is a great community as well. Out in the water, like you said, it has gotten busier in the last 10 years. That there are a good number of people in the water, but I think it is a very welcoming and friendly lineup.
It's the nicest lineup I've ever seen.
We have way more female surfers than any other beach that I've ever surfed in, and I think that's a great thing. There is very, very rarely do you see anyone kicking and screaming and throwing their toys out of the pram in the water. I mean, not that it doesn't happen, but compared to other beaches I've surfed, like it's a rare thing to see someone really getting pissy in the water.
That's true. If you were in Florida with that amount of people, you'd see arguments.
Left, right, and centre.
Constantly.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think actually I think that extends into the town. I think, this is a very, very friendly, welcoming community for the most part.
So your big likes are surf in the community.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I mean, again, you look at the way that this town has developed, and it's still, it's different to what it was when you and me moved here, but it's still, you walk around, this is still a little town in the jungle. There's still monkeys swinging from the trees. There's still, big swathes of protected land in the middle of it.
Well, big shout out to all the people who made that happen in the past.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like the NCA and those individuals.
We don't have big hotels, barring that terrible one those Surf Simply guys have just built. I mean, oh goodness. But no, you gotta
yell at somebody.
Like we got flack for building a big building. I mean, if you dropped the resort that we've built into Jaco, Tamarindo, Player Coco. Like,
it's not big at all.
It's tiny.
Yeah, it's big for here.
It's big for
everybody
here.
who got
And
mad at you guys had good intentions. Most
no,
everyone.
they did, and it's that has made, this is a pleasant little community to walk around. It's cool.
It is pretty cool. All right, so what about dislikes? Flip it around now that you got all warmed up with this place. What's the dark side?
Getting stuff from Amazon's pretty tough.
It's getting better. It's getting better.
I see. I've heard some rumors. About that.
Let's hear 'em.
Someone was suggesting that Amazon are effectively creating their own import thing, like that.
Jeez.
Effectively, like Amazon wants to deliver within Costa Rica, and the biggest hold up right now is bringing everything through customs, and that they're working to streamline that process in some way, shape, or form, so that you can deliver something, it gets flown down here, and gets through customs nice and quick and smooth. And so I don't know whether that's true, but I've certainly seen a lot of advertisements for Amazon recruiting within Costa Rica. And
their new facility. I hope that happens. That'd be great.
Yeah, well,
all right, so goods and services and access to stuff, that's one dislike. What's another?
I don't know. I mean, the quality of life I have here is insane.
Right, so you're not going anywhere anytime soon?
I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, I would... It is expensive to eat out. Like, this town somehow is significantly more expensive than towns half an hour to the north and south of us.
What's that all about, man?
I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess that just reflects rental prices and property prices and things like that. We are in a little bubble. It would be lovely if that wasn't quite such a dint out of. So
accessibility to goods and services, which actually is kind of the answer to number two.
It's kind of the same thing, That like we're out the end of a dirt road. It's expensive to get stuff
pricing.
out here.
It is expensive to live here. It's not cheap.
I think a lot of people come out and think they're coming to a little jungle community in Central America, and it's going to be a real cheap way to live. And I don't, that's not the case. And wouldn't we all love to just be able to live on nothing?
Yeah, that'd be nice. I'd love to pull it off to where I could bounce back and forth between here and Nicaragua, like up where we went on your last trip up there, because that's like here 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah,
it has that same kind of feel, and there's the semblance of a community is getting started. Whereas here it's matured and it's established.
Yeah.
I think the past 10 years and the next 10 years, so this 20-year time period, I think will be the sweetest time period to live here. Like over the last 10 years, because we just got doctors, we just got like a more goods and service. Super Nosara doesn't have chickens running through it anymore.
Yeah.
No offense to chicken-filled stores and shops. I didn't mean it as an offensive thing. But we have more goods and services than we've ever had.
Oh no, goodness! Like the range of stuff that's in the store at Super Nosara now compared to 4 or 5 years ago. It's funny. It kind of snuck up on me, and I hadn't really realized it, because there used to be that wonderful thing. You'd for whatever reason you're flying in and out of San Jose, or you're going in, and you'd go and smash order Mercado and get a bunch of stuff and come back here. And actually now, you know what? Like
you can get by.
It's more than that. 9 years ago, there was 3 types of cheese, and it was expensive. And the cheese is still
the cheese is a bad one to choose, man.
The cheese is still expensive, but there's 3 fridges in Super Nosara that are just full of different types of cheese.
Well, shout out to Roosevelt.
That's awesome. Like, this community is, I guess, a little different to a lot of other communities.
It's gonna be a good runway
in the
front of us,
area,
too.
and he's stepped up with what he's supplying, and we
have a gas station.
Yeah.
We have a bank. All these cool things. Remember, were you here when we used to have to drive to Samar to get gas?
Yeah.
That was the worst.
Well, no, because there was a guy that used to do it, and he used to have a hand pump. He used to go and fill up 20-gallon barrels.
The guy in front of La Casona, I guess that was our gas station. So no disrespect to him, but it wasn't clean. It wasn't the best thing to do, and health
and safety would not be happy with it.
Okay, I should have said it that way. Nor was your fuel filter. That wasn't so happy with it either. But anyway, we used to drive to get gas in Samara, and whenever someone was going down there, it'd be like, "Take my tank too."
Yeah, jerry cans everywhere.
Yeah, what a mess. All right, so let's move off with that.
What's the stuff you like?
What do I like here?
Yeah.
I like that people are friendly. Like right away, when I got to Costa Rica, I'm super intimidated because I didn't speak Spanish. I didn't really surf that good. I'm very large. I'm not going to hide.
Subtlety is not an option.
No, you're going to see me coming. So I like that people were really nice. Like when I got here, and then when I went surfing in Guiones, people were super kind. Like the locals, even the jaded locals, still were cool. And again, like I said, in Florida, if we get waves, everyone's freaking out because they're only going to be there for a very short time. So it's really intense. Yeah. And I didn't feel that at all here. Yeah. So for me, that was like the first thing that I noticed that was really strong. And then as far as Nosara specifically, it has to be the community. That's the one intangible in my normal line of work. That's something that's hard to describe to people who first come to the town. They're like, all right, so what's up? Why you're telling me I should buy something here when it's more expensive, it's less accessible, and the wave's not as good. And this is just kind of the dance that I do every day in my normal life. And it's, I'm telling you all those things. The wave's not as good. Yes, it's more expensive. Our roads are worse. And all these things are true, but there's a fabric of the community that is very hard to find. I don't think I've ever seen an expat community quite so pulled together, anywhere that I've been. Yeah. And there's a lot of pain in the butt factor that comes with that too. There's a lot of gossip and a lot of people are opinionated, and my biggest dislike is the I got here first syndrome. Yeah. Like when I first got here, it'd be like, well, I've been here 15 years, so whatever I say is right. It's like, man, shut up. That doesn't mean anything. I got here yesterday, but you're wrong. Oh man, I'm gonna get some heat over that, but I stand by it because I'm not wrong. I'm right. Like, that's that. But that's when it comes back to my rule number one: don't make sense of things. If you come down here and you have solutions for stuff, and this happens all the time, people land, hey, we should do this. You should just do that. Oh, it's real simple. Back in Cape Cod, we did this. Just do that. It's not like that. It's not like that at all, man. 2 + 2 is not 4 here. And if you get used to that, you'll make it just fine. But if everything has to make sense and you don't deal well with people not following your suggestion that made sense, for example, your mechanic. First time anytime I ever tell a mechanic, just tell me, man, whatever it is. If the car's going to explode, tell me. I don't care. Just tell me. I've never had a mechanic just tell me. Not one time. And so I was like, it'll be ready tomorrow. Oh, it's not that bad. Because it's not the culture to give really bad news. Yeah. Like it's just not there. Whereas I'm on the extreme other end. I want to know what I'm up against. Yeah. So for me, it's hard on my nerves and my finances. And when I'm working so much to go deal with this stuff if I don't know what I'm facing. So that would be something that you just have to get used to. Whereas now, no matter what happens in a day, you can't surprise me. Yeah. I've driven down the road and had my entire wheels just fall off. And it's like, well, I'll deal with that now. I mean, I could go on and on. So I think maybe a lot of my biggest dislikes are also some of my likes. Yeah. And that's why I wrestle with that. As you can hear anytime you listen to this thing. So what about your 3 favorite restaurants in Nosara?
Okay, so I am a big fan of Almendros out in Esperanza. I think the food there is awesome.
What do you get?
I like the chifrio. Okay. I like the arroz con pollo. Okay. Best hint, the arroz con pollo from there, that is probably 3 meals for a normal human being for a
Secret's
very reasonable price.
You're going to take it away for everybody.
Wow.
That's all right. That's just like you guys, you surf school guys always giving away these secret locations like Guiones.
God damn it.
Bringing all the masses.
I'm
kidding to whoever's listening.
Almendros, big fan of that. I always like going to La Luna. I love La Luna's pizzas. I like that.
Which one?
Super, super thin. Just any of them. Just that really super thin European style
I was
pizza.
just about to say, you're European. You guys are wusses. Like, you have the thinnest thing and you think that's okay?
No. Because it's a pizza. Like, it's meant to be bread with a lot of topping on it, not a tiny bit of cheese with 3 inches of bread. Okay. All right. Now you're selling me on this. Like, I'm coming back around.
But what about, so here's how we do it in the States. Yeah. 3 inches of bread and 3 inches cheese. That was my point.
No, so yeah.
I'm just kidding. I love La Luna's pizza too. The
Yeah.
barbecue chicken pizza is my favorite there.
Okay.
It's pretty good.
I
What about yours?
I love a margarita pizza. I love it. So anyway, that's probably my
Almendros, La Luna.
I think I think La Luna as well just has that. Like if I've got friends or relatives coming into town, I'll take them to La Luna because, like, location wise, it's pretty tough to beat
man,
for what they have there. So that's cool.
Can't go wrong with that. Dude.
I love going to eat there. That's where we take our clients come and stay. We take them there and we do sunset cocktails. And, it never fails to blow people away. The restaurant I've been really enjoying recently is the SPS. Good food, good service, love it.
Nice. What do you get there?
I like the fish and chips, and I'm a big fan. They've got an avocado and bacon and cheese toasted sandwich.
Interesting.
Which I'm a big fan of. But I don't know. I mean, it's really hard. I feel kind of bad having picked those three.
Yeah. Now
there's now a whole bunch of others. Like, I think it's the amazing thing about Guiones, and it's been true.
Plata too.
Well, this whole area.
Yeah, Esperanza.
I think ever since, for as long as I've been here, like the range and variety of food that we've got has always been good, and it's only been getting better the whole time we've been here. I remember going down to Pavones. This is a few years ago, and it's quite probably changed, but there were 4 or 5 restaurants in Pavones. They all had the same menu.
Really?
And none of it was, it was nothing spectacular. They were just, not that it was bad, but it was just like little sodas. And after the third day, it was really like, I didn't want to go out and eat, but I was in a hotel and I couldn't cook for myself. And it was just, well, I'll go and get something, I guess. And that's never been the case here. You've always, like, even 10 years ago, there were 10, 15 restaurants that had everything. You want French, you want Italian, you want whatever.
Yeah, you're right. We're very fortunate for that. Well, hey man, we need to get back sometime and have a good fight to see if I like this surfboard you're talking about.
Yeah, sure.
It seems like there's something else we're supposed to debate.
Well, we've got to come back in 30 years' time to see if you're right about
what are we going to bet?
But
I think I'm going to win. What are we going to bet?
Well, what we should really do probably
is
is like put $10 on it and then just invest that $10, and then one of us is going to be like super wealthy in 30 years' time.
Just get wealthy just in time to not enjoy it.
Yeah.
That all makes sense.
To be grumpy and just.
That sounds good. I like it. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to, or anything while you have this forum?
Well, I mean, I kind of, I said a lot of it earlier. I really. Can't say thank you enough to all the people that have given us so much help and support with the building project at Guiones. It's been really great. Like, the whole community has come out. We've had some really, really great messages of support. We've had a lot of help when we've got stuck with certain stuff. People coming in and helping us out, and that's to all those people that have. And actually, not just with this building project, like everything Surf Simply's done over the last 9 years. Thank you to everybody that's helped and supported us.
Right on, man. People love your product, and I'm really happy that it's working so well.
It's very kind. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.